to watching. Alright, who is all with me right now? I know, it was like, Lori, it's good to see you in there. I know it was super short notice, but I figured if I got something out there letting people know that I was gonna go live, it was better than nothing. So, but yeah, hopefully everybody's having a good day. It's gloomy as hell here because of the supposed hurricane that's gonna happen. I don't know if it will or not. I mean, obviously something will happen, but probably nothing like they're making it out to be. So we got Lori James, Russ Keller, Jimmy Fass, Britt Chaser. So thank you guys for joining. There's another total of 7 people in here. 8 now. Steve Rempel. How's it going? Alright, so I'm going to try to continue my trend of just getting started, so that way the people that aren't streaming live right now don't wait for 10 minutes before I start talking. South Colorado, snowing in the mountains. Yeah, that's a shame that that there's pretty much a search season, I guess. It'd be nice if this was something that could be done all year round. Knowing what Fenn has said, though, you know, when he made mention of, if you know where the chest is at, then I guess you could go retrieve it in any weather. That is good. That especially is good in the sense of, like, we don't have to take a break from research during the wintertime. We can still continue to research, hopefully find the location, and go to it. The bad thing is, obviously, with wintertime, you have to be a lot more careful, you know, especially when there's snow on the ground, the type of vehicle that you use to get there, the type of supplies that you're going to bring with you. Illinois Ghost, hey, how's it going? Mr. Quiver, thanks for stopping by. Illinois Ghost, it's good to see you in here. Haven't seen or heard much of you for a while. I've been kind of removed from the chase and YouTube videos and stuff. I think last night on A Gypsy's Kiss was like the first video that I had actually watched in quite a while. So, on that note, I'm sure that all of you guys are tracking or seen it yesterday. A Raven's Nest, Cal Lazar's, A Gypsy's Kiss, Sean Martinez, you know, they all went live yesterday about the coins. They're introducing the silver coins, the Forrest Fenn silver coins, but they're for 2019. You know, at first I wasn't too happy about it, but after hearing their intentions, you know, that, hey, they're not for sale, they're going to go put them out into the woods for people to hunt, you know, I really liked that idea. I think that a lot of people have been trying to profit off from the chase, and I think this is something that everybody could get on board with. You know, and the fact that she had turned down several thousands of dollars for the #1 coin, you know, that kind of lets me know that, hey, they're going to be genuine about it, and actually, you know, it's not a money-making scheme. So I really like that. I give respect for that, for sure. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how that turns into. Yeah, I feel you, but no, I think it's cool that we're doing, you know, good things for the community and trying to get people involved. And, you know, if we can do that without trying to benefit ourselves, then I think we're kind of getting more along the lines of, like, what this whole thing is supposed to be about, you know, camaraderie, you know, adventure, you know, thrill-seeking, helping each other, that type of thing. If Fenn didn't give a shit about people and he was just like, yeah, whatever, then he wouldn't have done this. So I think, you know, and especially while reading his book, you know, you see him transition from this, you know, this kind of confident, cocky type person, you know, kind of only looks for himself, and he transitions into a person that, you know, is looking out for others, you know, not putting his own interests before others, you know, kind of going like the selfless service route. And then, you know, talks about trying to protect nature and stuff. You know, so I think that that's why he agreed this route. So, wish you could meet. Oh, Forrest Fenn? Yeah, I wish so too. I actually emailed him. So I have to go to Fort Bliss for a month in just a couple weeks. So there'll be a month-long time period where I won't be able to make any videos. But I had emailed him and, asked him, told him, hey, I'm going to be around that way. Would it be possible for you to make the time so I can come meet you in person and have the honor of shaking your hand? And, that'd be a cool thought to carry with me throughout the rest of my life. Especially, you got, like, everything that he's done, and then, add in the adventure of it all. It'd be great to carry the thought throughout my life of, like, oh, I shook Forrest Fenn's hand. I'm not trying to, like, be on his nuts or anything, but you gotta think, if this treasure isn't found, it's going to be looked at like the equivalent of the Lost Dutchman's treasure, right? Imagine how many people got to say, like, I shook the Dutchman's hand, or, I got to sit down with him and bullshit with him or whatever. So, I don't know, I thought it was cool. Apparently, he wouldn't have had time to do that because he didn't respond to my email. I know you guys love me talking about the not responding to my emails. I'm pretty sure I say it in every one of my videos, but hey, hopefully he's watching this, and then he says, you know what, I do want to meet this guy, let him shake my hand, just so he quits complaining about it. But, Fenn did this for a legacy. He absolutely did. I don't... So, what I will say, and especially for reading this A War for Me chapter, I don't think he did it for a legacy in the way that we imagine legacy. I think he did this to not be forgotten. And that's what we're going to go into today. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. Oh, before I do, I want to bring something up real quick. And so my wife, she hated me talking about Forrest Fenn and all that, but as of lately, she started reading the book with me, and she's kind of helping me break down these deeper meanings. And you agree with what, Lori James, that he didn't do it for us, or he did it to not be forgotten? I don't know. I think leaving behind a legacy is kind of like a conceited type of approach, but to not be forgotten, he's thinking ahead, and he knows that eventually people are going to forget who I am, and that's what he's trying to avoid. So it's kind of, I consider like the fact of trying not to be forgotten and trying to leave behind a legacy as two different things. One is like the more conceited, arrogant route, and the other would be, just so people remember who you are, remember what you did for others. Because especially, all right, so in this chapter, War for Me, he talks about, all these Vietnamese, or all these Vietnam soldiers that died and nobody remembers them, right? I'm going to be that person someday. Like, hey, I fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, both in Iraq and both in Afghanistan. Unless I do something significant, a couple generations down the road, people will remember the war, but they're not going to remember who fought. You know how many people probably have family members that fought in the Civil War, and they have no idea? So I can kind of see where he was coming from, for sure. Let me respond to this. Recording. Sorry about this. People texting me for what time we're going to come to work tomorrow. It's not about having the resources to go look. It's about being resourceful enough to make it happen. Yeah, I agree with that. Somebody asked me, or somebody was happy that I put it into context of the amount of money that I had spent. I spent 10 days in the Rocky Mountains, and I drove from my house, right on the Alabama-Georgia line. Sorry, I have to put this on Do Not Disturb. Otherwise, it's going to... Every single time I start recording a video, it never... Sorry about that. Can somebody let me know if I'm back on? I think so. But yeah, so I drove from my house in, on the Alabama-Georgia border to Montana, down into Utah, down into Colorado, down into southern Colorado, then came back home. I spent 10 days on that journey, and I spent maybe $500. I camped, I brought my own food, I didn't, stay in hotels or anything like that. Literally, the only thing I paid for on the way there was gas. That's it. So, you need to, if you're gonna plan a trip and you definitely don't have you're not as fortunate financially as other people are, then you got to brainstorm the way to save money, because it would get expensive for sure. But anyways, I keep getting off track. There's something I wanted to show you guys. So like I was saying, my wife, she wasn't too happy with me always doing this, but she started reading the books with me and letting me read her the stories from Too Far to Walk and Once Upon a While, and then along with this book. We read this book together. She's not really sure, what she thinks of Fenn, but she does like his writing style, and does agree that there's some deeper stuff in the book. I think the more that she reads these books, the fonder she will become of them. But gosh darn it, where is that page? Stand by for like 2 more seconds. And I think this is, I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb and didn't notice it the first time. And I think once I put it on there, it's going to, I'm pretty sure it's going to be reversed, but I don't think it's going to be significant. Give me 2 more seconds. Gosh darn it, this is annoying. Okay. Oh my gosh, where is it at? I should have marked it before this, because now I'm just like wasting time flipping through pictures and stuff. But I think it's significant. You guys are about to watch me flip through 150 pages trying to freaking find it. Man, does anybody know what page the bird and the moon is on? Because I'm freaking looking for it. Don't remember what that one was about. I'm so sorry, this is taking forever. I've watched 3 people come and go into my video ever since I've been flipping through this. Again, I just want to say thanks to all, the same people, the same 16 to 20 people that are always watching. It's the same people every time, and that lets me know that you guys are at least committed to and enjoy what I say. So the fact that you guys come here, I really do appreciate it. Okay, so right here, somebody freaking thank you, Alan K, Britt Chaser, Lori James, Dirk the Daring. All right, I appreciate it. So this picture right here. Okay, so everybody thought that there was some sort of meaning for the bird and the moon, and we all know that Fenn, he worked for the Forestry Service, clearing roads and stuff. This is what's significant about this, and my wife, she pointed it out to me. How I didn't notice, I don't know. My wife, we were reading this, and she goes, "Oh, that's so sad. There was no more trees, so the bird had to make a nest in the moon." And I never frickin' caught that. And this is the same chapter that Fenn is talking about, what's going to happen when all the land disappears. So not only was there no trees for the bird, but the bird desired to leave Earth and go make a nest in the moon. One, probably so he could get away from humans, and the other, because that was the only place that was left, right? And we know Fenn worked for the Forestry Service, so all these things that he's talking about, I think he feels responsible for them, and he's trying to find a way. I think he's trying to find a way to, to talk about those regrets and to make amends with them. But I never noticed that. There's been people that have been Googling, like bird in the moon, that type of stuff, and it wasn't until my wife said that, oh, that's so sad. There were no more trees, so the bird had to make a nest in the moon. I never caught that. I seen the bird in the moon, right? And I seen him sitting in there, and I knew that it was a logging picture, but I never made that connection. So, it kind of just goes to show what's really in this book if we look at it, and that's what I'm hoping to achieve through all these videos. So yeah, I'd love to know what you guys think. I'd love to know if any of you guys caught that. I seen the bird in the moon. I figured it was, symbolism of something, but I never connected the dots of, the lack of trees is the reason why the bird is making a nest in the moon. I never even realized that it was a nest, really. I guess it's not that I didn't realize it was a nest, I just never really paid attention. So, anyways, so as a recap for yesterday, right, we talked about, hold on, 2 seconds before I get started. So yesterday, we talked about this, how's it going, Rob G? We talked about this transition that Fenn is going through. He says, I'll read the last chapter, so that way I can get a kind of a heads up on where we left. He says, instead of all those medals, I wish I could have been given a college degree in survival, or at least an honorable mention for just having lasted it out. Or maybe when it comes my turn to die, somehow that year could be rebated and tacked on to let me last a little longer. The sense of pride that I felt while serving in the war has since seeped out of me, but I'm still alive. What about those whose bones are rotting under the headstones of 1,000 wars? Are we forever destined to the same old bloody waste, forever, over and over? Surely there is more out there, but where? Looking back now, I feel as if I was being slowly educated by a larger hand, one that I could not then identify. So, remember yesterday he talked about all of his awards, and I kind of, I related to him, because he said at the time, those things mattered to me, but now I'm seeing, because of this larger hand is guiding me through a life-changing journey, and it's making me realize that all those materialistic things that I thought were important back then aren't actually important. And I had talked about how the same thing had happened to me, like I have a Purple Heart, got an Archon for Valor, I got 10 other Archons, just stuff that the military has taught me is very significant. And it is, right? But it's not, what's it gonna be to me later on down the road, right? When I go try to get a job as, in the normal civilian life, and I brag about all these awards and recommendations and stuff that I had gotten during the military. They're like, yeah, awesome. That means nothing to us, so welcome to freaking Starbucks or whatever. This is how we do things here. Insert any business name right there. And he's saying that wasn't the greatest reward for that time. Okay, so I'm going to go on now. Alright, I have already said that the whole Vietnam thing was unlikely as far as my participation was concerned. The Philadelphia saga is of no consequence except for the underlying mystic implications that took me years to sort out. So, the thing that happened between Vietnam and the incident flying over Philadelphia, it was just a thing that he kind of wondered his whole life, like, what was that all about anyways? And it kind of continued to, like, gnaw at him and bother him, but he never really put any thought into it. The thought was always there, but he didn't have a way to relate it or to talk about it or to give emotions about it. And essentially that's what he's trying to do in this chapter, is finally talk about it and finally give his thoughts. Okay, he says, both incidents are important only to me. They have produced something I cherish yet feel inadequate to explain, but I will try. That's what I just said. He's now finally trying to talk about it. He thinks he can finally put it into words. Let me get a drink of coffee out of my world's best mom cup. It's the only cup that was there, I guess. Okay. It's more than sad to me, not just that the French soldiers are dead and buried, but that no one knows where they are or even who they were. No one is crying now. No one is crying now that a half a century has passed. The ground knows, and the tall grass knows, but they won't tell. And what of the wives and children of those soldiers? Have they gone on to live with 100 forgotten memories? Sure they have. So in my mind, these lines have converged to tell a story that satisfies me in my heart, where only there it really counts. So it really only matters to him. It's really only contributing to him. I justify expressing my thoughts here because they have been pounding at me for so long. I certainly can't identify all of the lines that spun the web that forms the latent beliefs that brought me here. The latent beliefs, meaning the present, the near present beliefs, right? He used to think this way, this incident happened, it bothered him for a while, he finally figured it out, and now he thinks along this way of thinking. Beliefs that brought me here, but these are some. I borrow now from Omar Khayyam, who died in the first quarter of the 12th century. His words are some of those that tell the insidious stories the best, stories that have made me think. The moving finger writs, and having writ, moves on, nor all your pity nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. Alike for those for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrow stare. A muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, Fools, your reward is neither rich nor there. Strange, is it not, that the myriads who before us passed the door of darkness through, no one returns to tell us the road which to discover we must travel to. Alright, the moving finger writs, and having writ moves on, nor all your pity or wit. Shall it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. So, pretty much telling a story that it's hard for me to put into context that first stanza, but pretty much telling a story of life, I guess, where, regardless of tears or pity or wit or whatever, it's not going to change the fact, okay? Then he goes on to say, alike for those who for today prepare, and those that after some tomorrow stare. A muezzin from the tower of darkness cries, Fools, your reward is neither here nor there. So preparing for the day, preparing for today, getting ready for tomorrow, it's not going to change the inevitable. Strange, is it not, that the myriads who before us passed the door of darkness through, not one returns to tell us of the road, which to discover we must travel to. So we're going through life, and we're watching all these people pass away. We shed the tears for them, we feel bad for them, but none of them come back to tell us, what it was all meant for, the road that they had traveled. And the only way that we can figure it out is by us traveling down that same road as well. We'll only know the journey to the end by taking the road ourselves. And there's going to be plenty of forks in the road, and it's those forks that we take that are going to, determine, where we end or how we end up prior to the end. And the experiences and the memories and the contributions and the emotions and everything that had compiled throughout our lifetime. Those thoughts have so much to say to me. There are others who have said the same thing, perhaps less eloquently, but just as meaningfully, such as Andy Warhol, who certainly had his 15 minutes of fame, or Shakespeare in As You Like It, who wrote that all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their entrances and their exits, and one man in his time plays many parts. Okay, Mr. Shakespeare, name just one player or even one part about which you speak. The name may be remembered if it is written, But what of the person? No, each one has faded like the smell of dying daffodil. No sooner does one depart than another takes its place, again and again, only for the same fate to befall. Did Shakespeare really say, in other words, that most of us come into this world for a little while, are blessed perhaps, then depart, and are soon forgotten by history? Of course he did. And Longfellow, who was born almost 200 years ago, wrote, "Lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints in the sand of time." But what about those of us who are not great men? Are we not somehow entitled to leave a slight footprint somewhere? Did Lee Harvey Oswald thirst for remembrance that nothing else mattered, or John Wilkes Booth? So he's saying and confirming that Shakespeare and Longfellow they're referencing life, and they're saying, we live this life and we play many characters throughout it, and once we die, our name might be remembered, but our person, our soul will not be. The person that we were will not be remembered. It'll be forgotten. And pretty much, unless we're a great person, we won't be remembered. People that have contributed to, like Abraham Lincoln. Everybody knows his name, right? And they have a little bit of what he had done, or know a little bit about him, but they don't know him. Nobody knows him because, they didn't leave behind anything personal or anything that would give them insight into their mind. They just know about the things that they were attributed to. I wish I could do those things that I was attributed to, or whatever Fenn says. I wish I could live to do all the things I was attributed to. So people say this about him, but he never did it. Hey, he wished he could do it. Since people are already saying it, might as well have done it, right? All right. Both of them and a multitude of others. Oh, let me go back. Okay. Are we not somehow entitled to leave a slight footprint somewhere? Did Lee Harvey Oswald thirst for a remembrance that nothing else mattered? Or John Wilkes Booth, right? Lee Harvey Oswald, killed Kennedy. Like, hey, did he want to be remembered so badly that he was willing to do something bad just so his name would go down in history? I mean, that happens in court cases, like, all the time. Like, serial killers, they say, I wanted to be remembered, right? And that is freaking crazy, right? People want to be remembered so badly that they will do the most negative things about it. All right. And he's saying, whether you're a great man or not, doesn't everybody deserve at least the chance to leave a footprint? Which is why I'm saying Fenn didn't want to leave behind a legacy. He just wanted to leave behind his footprint. I'm going to go through and read... Alright, best wish. Oh, somebody going boots on the ground? Alright, let me go up here real quick, just so I don't try to catch up to them, all of them at the end. How about this? The front page cover to A Thrill of the Chase is all one area in one state, not four. Fair enough. You commented in one of the chats the other day, something like, yup, it's all over. You had me thinking you'd cracked it. Thank you, Holly, for the kind words. Thanks for your support. I think there might have, but you know how that usually goes. I'll know for sure in a few days. Alright, words from Alright, I'm just trying to see if anybody was answering something towards me. So I'm gonna continue going with this, and try to wrap up this chapter, and then maybe have some final thoughts. Alright, both of them and a multitude of others had conveyed the same meaning in vastly different ways and at vastly different times and places. But they all really said the same thing. Look at me, I'm somebody, please don't forget. So of course we forgot. The fun side is that it really doesn't matter who we are if we are someone to ourselves. No one else can claim, or no one else can think my thoughts, so I am myself only to me. Does that make sense? I am alone in me. So to be important, I only need to impress myself. And I can do that if others are positively affected by what they see in me or see me do. Why do the yellow and purple flowers flourish where no one is there to see? The answer is at last obvious to me. No one has to see what is there. The grass sees, and the trees see the rushing waters of the spring creek, and the grass sees, and the trees and rushing waters of the spring creek also see. What has made me think that I had to see the beauty that is there in order to confirm its existence? What has made me think that I had to see the beauty that is there in order for me to confirm your existence? So, in other words, he's saying, why do I have to physically see it in order to believe that it's there? Right? The item knows that it's there, and everything around the item in question knows that it's there. Why do I have to see it in order to believe it? Meaning, like, he can have faith that something is there. We are all here only for the pleasure of others. Everything living only for the pleasure of others. Of course, that's it. That's why the stone marker said, "And smile at a homely girl." It had to be pounded into me. That's why all Philadelphia was reduced to a thumbnail, to show me that each one is as important as the all, myself no less than any of them, and no more. It seems obvious to me now that we are all temporary statements, like a cut bouquet on the living room table, to make brief comments in passing and maybe cause a smile, then go on to make room for others who will play their parts. Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. He's pretty much saying, like, without being told that he's important, as long as he feels it himself, right, and as long as he had some sort of positive influence on other people's lives, then he left his footprint, right? He's saying, just because I can't see the beauty, or what has made me think that I had to see the beauty that is there in order to confirm its existence. So I didn't see the beauty in myself, and therefore I never considered the possibility that somebody else considered me beautiful or important or what have you, right? And now he's thanking Mr. Shakespeare because the line that he had read contributes to, the thing that happened in Vietnam and the thing that happened in Philadelphia. And he says, that's why all of Philadelphia was reduced to a thumbnail, to show me that each one is as important as the all, myself no less than any of them, and no more. So I'm no more important, nor no less than important, but I am equally as important as everyone and everything. And it took those incidents to be able to see the beauty in everything. Pretty much, he's seen the beauty in existence. He's seen that he pretty much found the reasoning behind his life. When this realization hit me, at last I knew, if I cannot enrich those with whom I interact each day and cause them to be better for my having passed their view, then I have wasted my turn. That I succeed in this endeavor is not as important as it is for me to make a solid try. For if the try is sincere, I have succeeded in whatever failure resulted. So, as long as I try to leave a positive impact on the people that I've come into contact with, then I've been successful in this endeavor or this life. as long as I tried. Even if the people I came into contact with weren't impacted by me, but knowing that I tried my hardest to leave a good impression or to impact their lives, that's what counts. But even better than that is if I actually did make an impact, then my endeavor has been successful. And by endeavor, he's talking about his life, right? The amount of time that he's been here on earth. Then he says, kiss her on the cheek and whisper something that she will later note in her heart of keepsakes. Open the door for her, not to make her way easier, but just to say you care. Be there when she arrives to let her know your time with her is important. Silence can be well understood if she sees an approving look. Meaning, alright, let me break this down. Open the door for her, not to make her way easier, but just to say that you care. Like, hey, I don't think that you're helpless. I'm just trying to, I don't think that it's impossible for you to open this door by yourself or to open this jar or whatever by yourself or whatever by yourself. I'm just doing it to let you know that I want to do those things for you because I care about you. Right? Be there when she arrives to let her know your time with her is important. So to be there when she shows up, obviously, but then to actually be there in her presence and not, mentally elsewhere or physically elsewhere. So that way, she knows that the time that you spent with her is cherished, right? And you can apply her to whoever, him, her, them, so on and so forth. And then silence can be well understood if she sees an approving look. So you don't even have to really say anything as long as she can tell that, if she can read your body language, that you're having a look of approval and you're not distracted or wanting to be somebody else or be somewhere else, but you're actually there. And that's, so really no words are needed in order to impact somebody else's life. In this case, I'm assuming he's talking about Peggy, right? But we can apply the same thing. So now at last, at least for me I know, and if no one should ever think of me when I have passed this veil, it will be of no consequence, for I have finally found my way, and I'm at peace with all of it. So now, at last, at least for me, I know, and if no one should ever think of me when I have passed this veil, it will be of no consequence, for I have finally found my way, and am at peace with it all. So it will be of no consequence, meaning if I'm forgotten, if I am forgotten, it's not going to be as a result of anything else. For I know what my purpose was, and I worked hard on it, and I know what my way was supposed to be. I'm at peace with it, so whatever happens, happens. And if people forget me, then they forget me. And so that is the end of this chapter. And I think that there was some really significant takeaways. I know that all my videos were like an hour long, so I doubt the majority of people are gonna freaking sit and listen to all of them. But if you have a chance to read this chapter, I would suggest that you read it slowly and really break down what's being said. Like find the trend that's going on throughout the book, or throughout the stories within My War for Me. Look at the emotions, look at what's being said, and think about like why he's saying it. Like why tell us all this? Why tell us all this stuff? Right? He's pretty much saying like, hey, humankind has like lost their way because they don't know their purpose, or they haven't found their way yet. So I'm going to give you my thoughts and the stuff that has led me to thinking this way and hoping that it will help you. I'm giving you advice onto why I think that you should know this. And he even says right here. Let me find it real quick. I think it was at the beginning of the chapter when he was after he gets home. And I think we as people go through this a lot too. Alright, where he says, for the next month while I was on leave, the flourish of activities related to homecoming and reuniting with family and friends put my jungle thoughts on hold, except for occasional flashes that insinuated something unfinished. I didn't know enough about what had happened to even speak of, much less understand what I was feeling and what it could possibly mean, if anything. It took weeks to digest as thoughts slowly started to seep back. What was this all about? So it doesn't matter the type of distractions that we have going around. Eventually we all revert back to the same thoughts of like, why did this happen to me? Why am I, why is so much stuff, why are so many things left unanswered as to, thinking about the purpose of my life, or what is this all for, or why am I here? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? What is my mission on earth, essentially? And he was saying, like, he never knew how to put it into words, or to even think about it, or to even talk about it. And then, one day everything clicked, all right? Probably somewhere along the lines with the sudden realization of death, right? Once back in 1988 when he was told that he was going to die. But then after he survived, he might have gotten, he might have gotten a little bit complacent or whatever. But then as he started approaching old age and knowing that, death could happen at any moment, that's when these thoughts really start connecting together, right? Like a wise old man. But yeah, I am, that's the end of this chapter, and I'm curious to what you guys have to say. Let me go up to where I had left off. But yeah, if you guys have a question or a comment or whatever, just at Rodney Greenway down there, so it pops right out at me. Okay. But keep looking there. Good luck. Alright, so I'm not seeing anything really directed at me, except for Russ Keller said, good job. Hey, I appreciate it. Hopefully it's not all in my head and it's actually there, what he's saying, but I think it is. And what do you think they attributed to Fenn that he didn't do? Is that a clue, really? I don't know. Maybe that's one of his secrets. On the New Mexico thing, right? Let me hit on New Mexico about being a search state. And let me clarify, I have no search state. I completely wiped the slate clean. I have no search state. I'm not looking at anywhere in particular. About 2 months ago, I threw all of it to the side. I completely wiped my mind. Don't ask me how I did it, because apparently that's freaking hard to do for people to just forget their solves or whatever. I have literally dropped everything and haven't looked back. But he says something in the chapter Blue Jeans and Hush Puppies. Says, when I became a civilian again after 20 years of military life, my retired pay was $12,000 a year, which was adequate to sustain my family of 4. We just had to forgo a few luxuries like Dr. Pepper's and downtown movies. In other words, he didn't make an adequate amount of money to sustain him and his family of 4. But Lubbock was windy, flat, and sedentary, and we could hear the mountains calling. My wife tells the story that when she suggested we move to New Mexico, I jumped up and down on my hat, but I don't remember that. Alright, everybody reads that like a good thing. It's not a good thing. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. Right, so I'm not trying to persuade anybody to stop looking in New Mexico, but remember, in my past couple videos, I've talked about how he misquotes stuff. He uses a lot of phrases. He uses a lot of quotes that have been, quotes that have been around from the time that he was a kid or whatever, even to this day. And there is a part, okay? So, first thing that we are going to Google is jumped up and down. Jumped up and down meaning. Alright, jump up and down, the phrase inflects. If you say that someone is jumping up and down, you mean that they are very excited, happy, or angry about something. Okay, so that's half of it. Alright, so the next thing, we're going to Google on my hat meaning. Alright, my hat phrase, right here. Find it. Oh. Used for saying that you do not believe that something can possibly be true. So that's just one of them. And right here, Collins Dictionary. We'll try this one. So, means my word, my goodness, or nonsense. So he thought my hat is nonsense. Jumped up and down can either be happiness, excitement, or anger. Well, if somebody's jumping on nonsense, what would you contribute the first part to? To be happy, excited, or angry? He's jumping up and down in anger, in my belief. Like, he didn't want... That wasn't the top of his list. Where do you think the top of his list? He says, but Lubbock was windy, flat, and sedentary, and we could hear the mountains calling. My wife tells the story that when she suggested we move to New Mexico, I jumped up and down on my hat, but I don't remember that. I think he thought that it was nonsense, but since he's saying, but I don't remember that, I think, in other words, he's saying, but it wasn't so bad. It just wasn't my first choice. But he says we could hear the mountains calling us, so my guess is he would have probably preferred, Wyoming or Montana, where he spent his entire childhood, but his wife was thinking New Mexico, and he's just going through life trying to make his wife happy. So he agreed to it. He says he doesn't remember that because it turned out to be better than he thought. So I'm curious to what your guys' thoughts are, but I mean, he uses phrases in here a lot. Okay. Rick says, Rodney, I always had the feeling he was saying nothing is ever gone. It's all matter and energy, and it can only be changed and never destroyed. Fair enough. I think he became religious. So, in my opinion, I feel like maybe that would be like a Gnostic or atheistic type look. But he says in the book that, it was part of a larger hand that was helping him see the way. And then he talked about pretty much the incident where he had become spiritual. It's in one of my other books. So I think he's talking about like a legit, like an end. Like what's going to happen at the end. Man, I wish I could find it. But I could see that too. And literature is crazy because you're going to interpret it however people are going to interpret stuff a lot of different ways, and it happens all the times with books. The problem with this book is we can't misinterpret the book or the poem because they're bringing us to a location. So if we're interpreting it the wrong way, then we're never going to find it. Years later, I would meld these thoughts into one, the sum of which would change my life, and I'm coming to that. Okay, well, I suddenly wished I had taken a drink back at the club. The upside was I didn't have trouble staying awake after that. The downside was I had covered a few million people with my thumb, and it took me to another dimension in my mind, a place I would not visit again until the grave marker entered into my life. Years later, I would meld these thoughts into one, the sum of... Man, I don't remember where I seen it, but he talks about... He hints towards being spiritual in this book prior to... Or in this chapter, prior to him talking about the larger hand helping him or whatever. But, I mean, either way, that... It could very much be right. It's probably... I mean, we're probably saying the same thing, but... You're not listening to... He is spiritual, not religious. Yep, and he has said that. So let me go back up. That could be the one question searchers haven't asked. What, about the religion? Because he said he's spiritual, not religious. Sort of like Buddhism, reincarnation. Yeah. Picture Yosemite. Okay, I don't think he was at all angry about Santa Fe. I don't know. I'm just going off from, you know, the meaning. Did he jump up and down in excitement because it was nonsense? Or jump up and down with happiness because it was nonsensical? But on the other part of it, so my hat has two meanings. It's my word. My hat could mean my word or my goodness, but it could also mean nonsense, right? Jumped up and down means either out of happiness or excitement or out of anger. So he could have been jumping up and down with excitement while saying my word, my goodness, because he was so happy, but he could be jumping up and down out of anger because it's nonsense. And you really have to ask yourself, you know, if he was jumping down out of happiness and excitement, why would he forget that? He says, my wife said I jumped up and down on my hat, but I don't remember that. Is he trying to, you know, play it cool, acting like he didn't act like a little schoolboy jumping down with excitement? Or is he saying, like, yeah, I was mad, but it turned out to be okay, so I'll just play it off like that never happened, because I'm glad it was a good decision in the grand scheme of things. Or he ruined a really nice hat, right? Alright, let's see where I left off. I think the book is like opposite meaning, like down is up, up is down. I have no idea what you mean by that. Alright. Yeah, I would like to know what, somebody just said something about, who said something about 12 feet? I think it was, who was it? Dirk or something said, like, somebody had been within 12 feet or something like that. Or Fenn said that it's already been found because somebody, it's already been found because somebody has been within 12 feet of it. Some shit like that. Maybe flatten it. So I would maybe flatten the hat. Got it tired. Flat tire. Maybe. Yeah, maybe I misunderstood what I was saying. There's been a lot of people in the chats that have saying like, oh, it's been solved, or oh, it's already been retrieved. Like, one, it's not solved. And if it is solved, the treasure's gone. And two, the treasure's not gone because if it is, we would be told that. And that's what Fenn even says, like, he will let us know. The time when I'll start questioning on if the chest has been retrieved is after Fenn has passed away. Because I know of no plan set in place for somebody to take over and inform the public after he's passed away. is there any sort of plan set into place? But yeah, I mean, if you know where it's at, go get it. But I think the majority of people that say that they know where it's at don't really know where it's at. So it's taken us 8 years. It's taken us 8 years already. I think I'm starting to break down the logic behind Fenn. I know how to. I feel like I know how to read the poem. I don't necessarily know the spot that he's talking about, but I think I can read the poem with 100% certainty of what's being said. I just don't know where to go. Fenn will have taken care of that. Retained a lawyer who will need to contact. I mean, maybe, but we don't know. Interesting words from Iranian. I don't know. I'm not gonna bash anybody or whatever, but I'm not all about the I know this and I know that, and like, I know where the treasure is, I just need a partner. Like, all right, then go. Like, why do you need a partner if you know where the chest is at? Or why, like, I know where the treasure's at, I just don't have the money to go get it. Okay, go borrow money. I spent 10 days in the Rocky Mountains with less than $500. I'm pretty sure, like, family or even a bank, a small personal loan or whatever, would be able to get a small loan like that and go and retrieve it. I don't think you need to spend a weekend or whatever. I literally think once you solve the poem, whatever the amount of time it takes you to drive to the location, park your car, get out, go get it, come back to the car, and drive off, that's the amount of time that it's going to take. I don't think it's going to be a freaking, like, for the people that live around the area, like, they will be done in a matter of, like, 3 hours. And I'm assuming that's probably with if they move the treasure half at a time. Speaking of moving the treasure half at a time, I think I know the intention behind that, and why he made it a point to tell us that. I think I do know the one clue. I'm not saying I do. I think I know the clue that he's referring to, and I think I know how to read the poem. Now the question is, where is that bringing me to? And I think that's what it's. Obviously, reading it and lining it up with the map, I don't think is the right process to take. That process has been used for 8 years and it hasn't worked yet. So there's something else. There's something else that everybody's missing. And that's why Fenn says, to my uncertain knowledge, there's one possibility that nobody is considering. Meaning, hey, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. Like, there's all sorts of people talking about where Warm Waters halts. There's all sorts of people talking about Home of Brown. There's all sorts of people talking about not far but too far to walk. So on and so forth. There's all sorts of people talking about all the meaning or all the locations, right? Of all the people that have talked about those locations, then surely somebody had to have been right. So if at least one person was right, then Fenn wouldn't have said, to my uncertain knowledge, there's one possibility that nobody is considering. If just one person was getting some of those right, Fenn wouldn't have said that. Fenn also says, a couple people have solved the first clue, but have walked right past it. They walked right past it because they didn't solve the poem, right? And I think that's also why Fenn said, to my uncertain knowledge, there's one possibility that nobody is considering. They managed to line something up on accident, but the reason why they didn't find it is because they didn't solve the poem. But, I mean, I'm not saying anything different than what's been said. I'm just trying to say it a different way. I'm trying to say that the poem is not here, 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 here on the map. The poem is freaking all-encompassing right here. You figure out the poem, and then you find out the spot, and you go bloop, and you find the spot on the map, and you walk right straight to it. And when you're right straight to it, you need to do something. I don't know, maybe you need to move your thumb about an inch away from your eye and freaking cover something up. Or maybe you need to turn into the sun, like he mentions in the book, where he talked about trying to blind the person that was shooting the ZPU from the hillside. You know, there's something in here that's going to cause us to see it. And that's why nobody's going to stumble upon it. You know, it's, you know, maybe we need to walk through the meadow at freaking 250 degrees, like he's talking about, and freaking trip and fall over it, and trip and fall over something coming face to face. Definitely has something to do with a log. I mean, I can't say definitely, but I think it has something to do with a log, because he talks about logs and underwood, like the name Underwood, talks about looking underwood, talks about kicking a log over to see what's under there, talks about, you know, children go out in the woods and they flip logs over looking for bugs. He makes way too many mentions about logs, and that's a possibility on why he's saying and in the wood. Maybe a freaking hollowed out log or something, and that's why he said in the wood. I don't know, but I really, really, really don't think that to find the treasure, you just need to follow the poem up to, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze, take the chest and go in peace. That's not the end of it. There's a reasoning for the first stanza, and there's a reasoning for, so why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know, I've done it, tired, now I'm weak. And there's a reasoning for, so hear me all and listen good, your effort will be worth the cold, if you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. Those definitely have to be part of the treasure, of finding it. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know, I've done it, tired, now I'm weak. That is needed in conjunction with, in order to understand, as I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where and hint of riches new and old. So if you know why is it that he must go and leave his trove for all to seek, and that will answer the question to, as I have gone alone in there, and then you have a better understanding of, as I have gone alone in there, then it'll help you look at the rest of the poem in order to see, begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, and all the way up until, but tarry scant with marble gaze, just take the jest and go in peace. But then you need the last stanza of, so hear me all and listen good, your effort will be worth the cold, if you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. It's all descriptions, or a process, or a series of events, or something that's gonna help. And you know this, so the big argument is always, does punctuation matter? Right? And the punctuation absolutely does matter. Because I'm going to go through this and then I got to hop off real quick. So I'm just going to go through this real quick. Alright. As I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, comma. So that means, as I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, that's one thought. They're connected. And poets use this. This is used in poetry to relate two ideas. Right? The first line is usually the most important, and the second line is usually something that is contributing to the first line in order to, like, emphasize on it. Right? So, as I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold, comma. So we have that. That right there, those two lines, that's an idea. Right? A place and a thing, or a place and a process, or whatever. Right? I can keep my secret where, comma. So, I can keep my secret where, comma, is elaborating onto the first one, or the first actual full line. I can keep my secret where is elaborating into, as I have gone alone in there and with my treasures bold. But it's also hinting towards, or it's leading into the next line of, and hint of riches new and old, period. Alright, that one's a little bit hard to understand the way that I say it, but okay, like this. Fenn said that the first clue is, begin at where warm waters halt. But he stops right there. right? But I'm saying, begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, comma. That's one thought. He's putting the line breaks in right there so you don't read it the correct way. You're going to read two lines and you're going to think two separate things. But you need to pay attention to the punctuation and know that, hey, realistically this is one line. But it doesn't stop there, right? As I have gone alone in there, begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, comma, not far, comma, but too far to walk, period. Not far, comma, but too far to walk, period, is re-emphasizing begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, comma. But it's part of it. It's emphasizing and it's part of it. And that's why the punctuation is where it is. I hope that makes sense what I'm saying. And then put in below the home of brown, period. That's its own thing. Okay, so begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down, comma, not far, comma, but too far to walk, period. That's all its own thing, but is being very precise on the original line of begin at where warm waters halt and take it in the canyon down. That's one clue. Not far, that's two clues. But too far to walk, that's the third clue. Put in below the home of brown, that's the fourth clue. But all of them are describing something, in my opinion. I think. I really think. And then, yeah. Okay, so from there it's no place for the meek, comma. The end is ever drawing nigh, semicolon. Semicolon is used to issue out a list following it, right? So from there it's no place for the meek, comma. The end is ever drawing nigh, semicolon. So the end is ever drawing nigh is re-emphasizing a place that is no place for the meek. It's part of it that goes with it. But along with that, it's also giving you a list of things that is no place for the meek. There will be no paddle up your creek, comma, just heavy loads and water high. So the end is ever drawing nigh, semicolon. I'm about to give you a list. These things go hand in hand with a place that the end is ever drawing nigh and no place for the meek. And those things consist of no paddle up your creek, heavy loads, and water high. So that's its own idea, but very descriptive and broken down into different categories. In my opinion, looking at this poem, there's a lot more than 9 clues in this thing. But maybe that's just the way that Fenn, I think maybe that's the way that Fenn had seen it. But I might also be, like, oh, I think this is a hint, but I'm giving it the equivalent value of a clue. But this poem is telling us a lot. This poem is telling us a lot of information that we've been just throwing it off to the side. And Fenn kind of messed with us a little bit with that, and I think that's what started it all. And that's why, to his uncertain knowledge, there's one possibility that nobody's considering. Hopefully except for me, but I'm not going to be that guy. But anyways, I'm going to hop off because I'm getting ready to eat dinner. I'm just making sure that nobody said anything. It doesn't end till the end. Absolutely. Logically minded of you. Thank you. Alright. Why a partner? I would walk there if I knew where it was. Absolutely. There's no way I would partner up if I knew where it was at. I'm 99% sure that he left little trinkets, little small treasures when he talks about a situation like 200 foot, 500 foot. If he may be talking about one of his trinkets and not the chest. Maybe. I don't know what you're referring to for Fenn's trinkets. I mean, maybe I will if I think about it for a second. Everyone thinks they start at Warm Waters Halt, but to me, it's the place you put boots on the ground, not where you start. Oh, okay, so you're saying everybody thinks that you have to start where Warm Waters Halt, like physically start there, and then take it in the canyon down or whatever. I get what you're saying. I think that if you solve it, you don't have to go to all of... I think if you find the blaze and you look quickly down, you'll be able to go right straight to it. Meaning, like, you don't have to go through all these. But I think that following the clues consecutively is the only way to get there. I'm just saying that those consecutive clues are ideas and processes and not physical locations on a map. Alright. Okay, put the sun at your back so you can see the rainbow. Maybe. So the poem is like a riddle with a simple answer. I kind of think so. But not simple, I don't think. I mean, it is simple. Now that I see it, it's freaking simple. It's so simple. But I can't figure out, so it's simple in the sense, and I could be wrong. I'm probably completely freaking wrong, right? But when I read the poem, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's literally, you know, I'm trying to talk without giving too much away, but I see it and I'm like, holy hell. Like, holy crap. It's so simple, it's stupid. How haven't I been seeing this? But even with that being said, I don't know where to find the spot and go right straight to it. I hope that makes sense. Like, it's gonna sound so stupid. I think I have the poem solved, but I don't know where to go. That sounds completely ridiculous. And it is simple, Mary Green. I really think so. But but he says don't oversimplify too. He says don't overcook my poem. And then when somebody asks, you know, if somebody had a map of the Rocky Mountains and I told them to meet me where warm waters halt, would they be able to meet me? And Fenn says you oversimplify the poem. There are plenty of places where in the mountains where warm waters halt or whatever, and mostly all of them north of Santa Fe. Try to look at the big picture. And yeah, like I think I'm trying not to be one of those other basket cases on the internet, like, oh, I know where it's at, but because I don't know where it's at. I don't even know where to put a dot on the map. But as of right now, I have no search area. I have no search state. I don't even know where to start, but I'm very confident that I know how to read the poem and what it's saying, and I need to find out where to go. Fuck, that makes no sense at all, but it does in my mind. It makes perfect sense. But yeah, okay. It says keep it simple. It's both a line and a circle. Just learn where warm waters halt. Yeah, but like warm waters halt could be the Arctic Ocean, right? If we're thinking about geographical locations, think about, all right, the definition of warm waters: a sea, ocean, or large body of water, not including the Arctic or the Antarctic. Well, so if we include, obviously the Arctic is out of the picture, right? But we have, or the Antarctic is out of the picture, but what's directly north of Canada, right? The Arctic Ocean. And then if you have, let's say it like this, okay? And he was freaking tricky too. He did this all for a reason. So a large body of water, not including the Arctic or Antarctic, but usually an ocean, right? And we end up at the Arctic Ocean. And then we have and take it in the canyon down. So we look up canyons in the Arctic Ocean, and we find Borrow Canyon, right? So take, borrow. So go to the Arctic Ocean, take it, borrow, canyon down, right? And then, you know, not far but too far to walk is like that stretch of the Rocky Mountains put in below the home of Brown. So right there on the Canadian border, we have Kootenai border, or Kootenai forest or lake or whatever, right? Well, Kootenai Brown, that was his nickname, right? And then from there, it's no place for the meek. Hey, maybe he's talking about all of America, right? So from there, at the Canadian border at Kootenai, everything south of that is no place for the meek, because proud to be an American, right? The end is ever drawing nigh, so hey, we're pretty darn close. There will be no paddle up your creek, so, you know, that phrase stemmed from, you know, Salt Creek. stemmed from freaking Salt Creek in, you know, way back in the day, in like the 1500s or whatever. They'd hook them up to this rig system, and they'd pull them up this little pulley line to get hospitalized during war or whatever, and it was all done under strict guard, so nobody would go AWOL trying to escape the shenanigans of war. And then, so maybe there's a Salt Creek or whatever, or maybe there's a creek right there somewhere below Kootenai National Forest, and there's freaking a creek. That would make sense for no paddle up your creek. And then we have, you know, just heavy loads and water high. We have a prospecting location, right? Heavy loads. Heavy loads being a prospecting term, or heavy loads being snow, right? Because that would make sense for your effort will be worth the cold. Heavy loads and water high, right? And then we have, if you've been wise and found the blaze, we have, what do we have for blaze? We have freaking, you know, rocks, we have something white, we have a brilliant display, we have all sorts of freaking stuff that could be a blaze. But none of them are really telling us anything. Right? Why would Fenn write a poem just about locations? Right? That's not why people write poetry. People write poetry to talk about significant shit. So, I don't know. I'm going to stop it right there. My battery's low anyways. But eventually it'll end up dying. I feel like I should probably splice this video. But, alrighty. Leading on a couple comments. So F says, keep it simple. Yup, just learn where Warm Waters Halt is. Look at the big picture. Have you elaborated on Warm Waters Halt being figurative versus literal? No, I have not, and nor am I going to. Looking at all the springs and rivers, etc. would take forever, right? Yeah, I think so. Browning Mountain. I saw someone write somewhere, if you go far enough north, you'll start heading south sooner or later. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you would definitely start doing that. Okay. I have to go eat dinner and start getting ready for bed because I have work tomorrow. But thank you guys all for joining me again. You know, please leave your comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Feel free to shoot me an email at fentreasurethoughts@gmail.com. And yeah, the War for Me chapter is done. You know, I'll consider which one I'm going to do next. And then I'll hopefully keep these videos going, especially before I'm about to leave for a month. So, you know, starting October 17th, I won't be able to make any more videos for you guys until I come back around, you know, 20 November. So I'll try to put out a bunch of content before then, and if I do get the chance to put some out while I'm gone, I'll definitely do that. But, yeah, if you guys have any ideas for shows, go ahead and email them to me. You know, you want to freaking make any comments, please let your friends know. You know, to come subscribe to my channel. Not that there's enough people in the search community to freaking monetize or anything, but still, you know, knowing that I'm talking to more people, you know, wouldn't be a bad thought. So, but yeah. Anyways, take it easy, guys. Happy hunting.